Okay, well, I am finally live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to, no, not so welcome, because I am now frozen. I swear, Facebook hates me because I don't use my phone. I don't use phone Facebook often enough. I'm a computer guy. In any case, welcome to the welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues special Monday edition with Aiodhan Cochrane of the United Kingdom. So he's here, but I can't get his audio to work as yet. So we're um, we're trying to get that sorted out. And my apologies for coming on late, but as you can see, I keep freezing, and Facebook blocked my account right around 5 minutes to 4 my time. So James Bishop, I know you were asking what the heck happened to my account. It gets blocked once once a week at a bare minimum. Okay, so say something, Aiodhan. Let me see if I hear you. No, I still don't hear you. Do you have headphones that you can use? There's something going on with his connection. So while we get all of that good stuff on the way, um, let me just tell you that if you enjoy what I do here on the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, you can go to jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this: the Keep Calm and Learn to Fight Ferociously um, T-shirt, long sleeve, short sleeve, hoodie, sweatshirt, coffee mug, all that good stuff. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. All right, and also, let me just make a quick note, make sure that I have this here. Coming up on Friday at our regularly scheduled time, we're trying, well, actually not at our regular scheduled time, because we're going to go on at 4 o'clock again. And we're going to try to do a thing with my good friend Suli Welch up in Georgia. So we're going to try to go live, but also instead of him sitting in one spot and being interviewed by me, so to speak, we're going to take a tour of his new facility up there in Georgia. So that will be 4 p.m. On Friday. Let me get back to Aiodhan here, and nope, nothing's going on. Okay, now I hear you. Now you're horizontal. No, now, okay. Yeah, that setting. Okay. No, no, I lost the audio again. Nope. This is ridiculous. Um, so I think what it is that, okay, I hear you. Yeah. So whatever button it was that you pushed, don't touch that button again. No, I lost your audio. No, I can't see what you're showing me. It's not on your camera. All right, guys. So let me pause this and see if we can fix all this stuff, and then I will. If we can do it, we'll go back. We'll go back live. Otherwise, maybe we can move this to Wednesday or so. All right. So hang on 1 second.
Me?
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. So now we're good.
Yeah, I changed
Now
it
we're,
over to the phone.
yeah. That's probably would, because I don't know. You know, in all the time I've been doing this, I think only once has anybody successfully used an iPad.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Probably
Well, in
is.
any case, you're well worth the wait, my friend. How are you?
I'm as cool as cubes in an ice bucket. I'm not too bad. How's yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Sorry about all this mess, man.
No, no, it's great. It's great to talk to you finally.
Yeah. So your friend Neil McTaggart said that Facebook can't cope with your magnificence.
Tell him the check's in the post.
Okay. All right. And so let's see, who was it? Was it Neil? Yes, it was Neil, right? Neil says that what this is an amazing opportunity to speak with a man immersed in the Filipino arts and literally saved by Bruce Lee. So I want to tackle those two things because everything that I found, um, well, not everything, most everything that I found for you does point to the Filipino martial arts and your adventure and your what was it an around the world quest?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So here's what you get. Genesis, right? Of that idea, and then how you did, how was it funded? How were you able to do that?
I used to work 7 days a week as well as the night shifts.
Okay.
So all the funding was actually set up by myself.
Ah, nice.
And then
Nice.
towards probably since about 6 years ago, I would use the opportunities to raise money for charity.
Hmm.
So what I would do is I would devise like sponsorships, and friends and work colleagues, they would contribute for things like human trafficking rehabilitation in Phoenix, Arizona. Um, Diana, Diana Inosanto and Ron,
Hmm.
they did their last tournament for autism,
Yeah.
and the Dog Brothers event beat the crap out of cancer and things like that.
Right. Okay. I got it. I got it. So yeah. So well, let's see. Where should I start? I mean, it was a crazy idea, don't you think?
Totally bonkers. Everyone, I mean, honestly, everybody thought that I was losing the plot,
Right.
especially because I just come out of recovery,
Hmm.
through alcohol and addiction.
Hmm.
And it was at a very, very low time. Um, I was even given 3 months to live. So I eventually surrendered to it. I went and got treatment, and it took me a while to get myself together.
Hmm.
So me and a friend of mine, because I'd actually been to the Philippines before, but
Right.
just once. So we're over there and we were training Calais Illustrissimo. And I started to question myself, like, why am I doing this? Because even though I teach for a living, I don't teach martial arts yet.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that wasn't in the agenda. So what could I basically do here that I can't do back in London where I'm based? And then it dawned on me because my teacher at the time, Rami Magapagal, and my uh, senior brother in Illustrissimo, Richard, they were looking at sword fighting, fencing, but
Hmm.
they were looking at techniques around those people who were disabled, on the wheelchairs.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Like Con Woolley and those guys.
yes, so
Yes, yes, yes.
they were really getting into it. And then it just dawned on me, wouldn't it be a great quest to travel all over the world doing all these
Hmm.
tournaments, but
Right.
outside the Filipino remit? So what I didn't really want to do is, in order to basically the test, and that's what it was a project. This time round, it wasn't about the glory of winning.
Yeah.
It was a task in order to deal with, well, you could probably say broken rhythm, to deal with the unexpected and to identify what's there and ready when it comes to the response. And I was looking through this magazine and I seen these photographs, beautiful, clear, blue, friendly skies. And these guys outdoor doing knife fighting, sword fighting, all this. And it
Mm.
was the Cold Steel Challenge,
Okay.
and that's when was that? That was about 2011. And that was my first task, you know. But it
Hmm.
all went, it all didn't. Well, this is the interesting thing, because can I take it back a bit?
Yeah, sure. Hey, it's your show. You can take this in any direction you want, my friend.
I first actually discovered who Bruce Lee was in the middle of a gun battle when I was 12 years of age. So, what happened was there was an open fire exchange between the British Army and the IRA, pelting at each other. And what you usually did was you lay down or you hit the deck so you could escape the line of fire. So there was a couple of us sitting hunched by a car, and this guy, and funny enough, like he's a friend of ours, or was, haven't seen him in years. Him being a few years older, he then started to describe this movie that he's seen. And now the thing is, his eyeballs were standing in his head like a laying hen, and he began to describe this kind of petite type of character. But when he expanded his arms, the side of his back flew out like wings, where the dragon,
Right.
and how he sounded like a cat and had speed of a puma, all this, and I was completely and utterly hooked. He got so excited explaining it, he forgot why we were behind the car and he went to stand up and we had to pull him back down again.
Right.
And that was me more or less then hooked. Now, from then, um, there was, of course, there was magazines and there was books. Now, what actually happened was the martial arts scene was quite, it wasn't that kind of in vogue at the time. You had a bit of
Right.
judo, you had a bit of karate, but
Hmm.
that's all that was there. So in a sense you had to rely on magazines and whatever little bits of information that you could actually get. Now, um when I was 14 years of age, I experienced something, you could say it was quite traumatic, and it involved the death of I think about six people. Three of them were actually very young children. Now, at that
Hmm.
particular time, people were expressing their hysteria in different ways. Some people were kind of squealing. Some people remained very, very quiet. I was one of the first guys that was actually on the scene. Now, my way of dealing with that is that I just went back to the house, went upstairs, grabbed the book Bruce Lee, the King of Kung Fu, and read over it, and just completely lost myself, almost to the point
Hmm.
that it just felt like as if I was there. And that was my escapism. You know what I mean? When I was
Right.
basically growing up as a
Yeah.
kid.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but have you ever heard anybody else who had even a similar a similar approach to yours? Because I've never heard of anybody using Bruce Lee in this fashion.
Um, no, because it's only now that because I'm actually writing a book about it.
Hmm.
So it's only now that I'm kind of readdressing it. I think, yes, there were, I mean, back in them days, there were other, I mean, you probably remember yourself. The boom was unbelievable. And in a sense,
Yeah.
it was a great, it was almost like a positive interruption as to what was happening at that time. And even looking back, it was very, very exciting. I mean, what Bruce Lee brought in them days. And then after that, the various other stuff like the Shaw Brothers movies and whatever. And
Wait,
but being a kid,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying because I'm thinking about other dialogue partners that I've had from the UK, and it seemed as if you guys you weren't in the UK, you weren't really given the access to kung fu films the way like even we were down in the islands or in the States, right?
Yeah, because
So
there was only two cinemas because a lot of them were blown up. Because
right,
this
yeah,
now this was in West Belfast in Northern Ireland.
right.
That's where I grew up. You see, that's where I'm.
Okay, I get it. I
So
get
the
it.
dynamics and the life was completely different to what it was
Right, yeah,
across the water in England or even Scotland.
yeah.
You know,
So
but we
your boom then was almost in reverse then, because see, we got Shaw Brothers before we got Bruce Lee.
yeah, it went the other way with us.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and what
That's
we relied
interesting.
on was youth clubs would show them
Uh-huh.
as a
Okay.
as a Saturday matinee, you know, and
Right.
so there would be. I mean, my first movie that I seen that blew me away too was Ten Fingers of Steel with Jimmy Wang Yu. That was my first exposure, and being it the first time, like I thought it was wonderful, you know. And then I remember walking by the when I went to school, there was like a wee shop on the corner, and as I turned, because they would advertise the movies on the front of
Mhm.
their window,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
and there it was, Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon. Do you know that clip where Cheetah, the chimpanzee out of Tarzan, where it does a
Mhm.
backflip when it gets excited? Do you ever
Yeah.
see that? Well, that was me with my school bag. You know,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was one of these ones, and
Yeah.
that was it. That and once
Brilliant.
that happened, that was it.
Okay. So this was this 74?
74, yeah.
Okay. So
74,
that gives
75.
that gives rise then to this article. Okay.
Yes.
Can you see the picture I put up?
Oh yes, at the back. No, I can't see the picture.
No. So it's the article discovering Bruce Lee in Belfast in
Oh
1974.
yes, I can see. Is that yes, yes.
Yeah.
That was the foundation. Yeah.
Okay. Now this is your article.
Yes, I wrote
Okay.
that.
All right. So tell us some more about that.
Right. So basically, I became fanatical really, and I was kind of renowned for it. And but there was no kind of there was again wasn't till about 1976 where I was aware of the first Chinese kung fu club that was actually down the road. Now
Hmm.
there was a guy who was doing it. That didn't it was I can't remember. I didn't know about his background, but he held his first school on top of a dentist, right? Do you know what he called it? Sore tooth kung fu. Absolute classic. And but there was another thing going on in one of the leisure centres, and it was a form of I think of lagar
Okay.
derivative. That a few guys who went over across the water, and I got some exposure to that. And for me, it was that wee bit step closer to Bruce Lee.
Hmm.
Now the turning point was it was that I remember going through a newspaper, and I seen this Bruce Lee Jamboree convention in
Right.
London,
Right.
in Westminster Hall. special guest, Dan Inosanto. Now, I knew all about Dan Inosanto and Taki Kimura and all them guys because of all the reading that I did. Well,
Right.
the chimpanzee backflip did about 3 down
Yeah.
the bloody living room. And I thought to myself, I gotta go to that. And I basically worked the minute doing all these I was only 16, doing all these wee odd jobs. And I bought my ticket and everything. And off I went. Now, in them days, you had to get the boat across to Scotland to Stranraer and then get the train down to London. But when I got
Oh my
when I
God.
got to the harbour, I was held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, and they locked me in.
No
They
way.
locked me in this real box room and just left me there. Right? No, there was
Yeah.
hardly any, and I'm showing my tickets and everything, and I kind of
Right.
my record was clean.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that they could have basically found, but it was a ploy because as soon as they let me go, the train pulled away. So it
Oh
then
man.
had to add 5 hours on to the journey because I had to go the opposite direction to get the train into London. But I never let it damp my spirits. See, when the day came, I think it was Dan Inosanto and Jeff Amata, right?
Okay.
And I actually thought I was actually kind of transfixed with Dan Inosanto because I thought he had such a lovely manner. He had a
Uh-huh.
real humble way with him,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but he did the Game of Death scene with Jeff to
Okay.
the full blast soundtrack of Game of Death in the background.
Uh-huh.
But he not only did the nunchucker stuff, he used eskrima sticks as well.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure. And I thought, one of these days, I gotta get me a set of them, you know. But that
Right.
didn't happen till a long time down the road.
Okay.
So
All right.
he, and it's, yeah,
Give me 1 second here. I think I froze, so I gotta reload this. So everything might go blank for a second, and then we'll. There we go. All right.
you there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm back.
Yep, I can see you.
Okay. So I put the this is the event poster, correct?
Right, I can't see it.
See that? It's the Bruce Lee Worldwide Convention.
Oh, that one, yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was now it was because remember when we watched Bruce Lee movies in them days, they were heavily censored.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, so when Game of Death came out, that whole floor with Dan and Asante was cut.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
never got. So the first time I got to see it was at
Right.
that convention, and then when the movie was over, then that's when he came out and did it live.
Okay. So how did you guys feel years later when, let's call it, standards are relaxed and you get to see the full movies and realize how much you'd missed? How did you guys feel? I mean, I would have been pissed.
Oh, I was completely and utterly cheesed off. You know what I mean? I wanted to give up my citizenship and everything. You know, it was just a complete. Oh, it was terrible. And
Yeah.
even the magazines like KFM, they were
Hmm.
just basically shattered bad. You know.
Right.
Now, originally, when Enter the Dragon came out, they
Hmm.
showed the nunchuckers.
Okay.
But then when they introduced these new laws, everything got cut.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
even the battle scene with Bob Waldcott.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So then it's pretty, I mean, well, then it's no longer a martial arts film. I mean,
That's
right?
again. You got a
Yeah.
few. You got the empty hand fight scenes, but
Okay.
anything with a weapon,
So
cut.
including firearms. So they would cut stuff. They would cut stuff
Firearms,
with.
no. But anything to do with what he called, because we were used to that. You see, we we were doing enough firearms ourselves.
Right.
We were probably better on it than they were.
That's I mean that is ironically hilarious.
Yeah,
It really is,
yeah.
right? Oh my God. Yeah, I've told people before. I'm a big fan of of UK television. I watch Irish TV series. I watch. I mean, there's Welsh detective series that I watch and what have you. And I really really love it. But I cannot get over the way criminals give in so easily once somebody says, "I'm arresting you for whatever and whatever." Right?
That,
They just give it
yeah,
up. Nobody fights back. And
that's right.
right? So I'm watching a new prison series, and nobody has attacked a prison officer. And I'm into like the third episode. And I'm thinking, this is not
That's true.
this is
Yeah,
not a US TV series. Nobody has
yeah.
fought back yet. Nobody has killed anybody. I'm 3 episodes in and nobody's died.
That's true. Yeah,
it's
that
re-
is
it,
true.
it it's really it's pretty funny, but I mean it really is, and talking to you and hearing your experiences, I am still utterly fascinated by the truly international effect that this little Chinese guy had on so many people so long ago and continues to this day because we still argue about
Oh, so I've noticed.
it.
Yeah, some,
Right?
and I have to say, some of it's entertaining. Like,
Oh, it
you know,
is. It is
uh,
very entertaining. I,
I
I love
mean,
the guys who take it so personally.
yeah, it is, and you're brilliant because you don't seem to let it get to you. You know, but it is entertaining.
Yeah,
There's no two ways about it.
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, because in a sense, the people that I've spoken to that knew him, only remember him when he was basically having it tough, when he was literally poverty stricken.
Yes.
So he never really got to actually benefit from the fruits that he actually bore, really.
Hmm.
And in a sense, looking back now, oh, I mean, in Belfast alone, it was absolutely electrifying.
Yeah.
And even across the water, for instance, in there was a number one single, Kung Fu Fighting, for instance.
Oh yeah, the Carl Douglas.
Um,
Yeah.
and there's all that. And
Hmm.
then, of course, you got the Kung Fu series that just happened to come in around at that time. I
Okay.
mean, it really, really had such an impact, massively,
Yeah.
you know. But I basically then would do a lot of reading and obviously the philosophies that influenced him.
Hmm.
I would actually take a lot of kind of guidance on that, especially when I started to travel doing
Right.
the tournaments,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting one for you. Now, the first tournament that I did, I'm going to be totally honest, my ego did get the better of me towards the lead up to it. Now, when I used to do the stuff with the Tai Chi,
Hmm.
um, that's going back, say, about ooh, between 1990 and 1994 or 5. I did stuff in Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, Florida, Amsterdam,
Right.
doing Tai Chi pushing on tournaments.
Uh-huh.
But in a sense, though, because of where I was at in my life, I needed to do something where I could actually win. And the reason being, so I was probably silencing my own lambs. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
basically silencing issues maybe from my own past. It was a confidence builder, and to a certain degree, wow, look where I'm going now.
Hmm.
However, years later, when I basically got sober, um, when I started to readdress my training, when I went to the Philippines, I would say, I want to do everything. I want to go through all the different angles of cuts, all the different kind of follow-ups, everything.
Hmm.
And I would practice this religiously every day, practically. Now, leading up to it, I then got this thing in my, because remember the where I had a liberation of freedom, it wasn't about winning. It was a project.
Yeah.
It was about breaking routine and rhythm, to
Okay.
deal with the unexpected, and to learn and to see how well I could respond instead of going rushing in sheer caveman.
Right.
But I was basically overdoing it from the technical point of view.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
what happened was I thought to myself, it would be really good to win. What a story that would be. A guy pushing his 50s becomes nearly dies of alcoholism, and here he backs and he wins this, and it all sounded rather romantic. Now we check this out. The problem was, right, now I would have been 49 hitting 50. That's about 11 years ago. So I went in because it was in the senior division,
Yeah.
and I recognized certain people. I recognized Ron Baliki, but it took me a while to figure out exactly that it was him. And he was probably the main one that I thought, he looks really familiar, because
Hmm.
I'd been out of the game for years.
Hmm.
So I'm looking around for these seniors. Now you had the row of judges, you had the referees, you had corner people, all that. So I came in a bit like Kane out of Kung Fu, the wise man with with the wooden flute. And if you said anything to me, I would give you this poetic response that would sort your life out. Well, I walked in, and the guy who I was up against was a guy called Troy Miller,
Ah!
right? And he cut me up like a friggin' kebab. It just, everything completely fell apart.
Yeah.
The game plan, the strategy, it just went. Now, before it happened, did you see that? The old movie Robin Hood? You
Which
know,
version?
the one with what do you call him? The real old one.
Oh, was that Errol Flynn?
Yes. You know the clip where Richard's in the tavern and they take off their, what do you call it? Their armor, and they're all wearing the Crusader stuff, and then they have a sword fight.
Okay.
Well, the same scene happened at Cold Steel,
Ah.
because as soon as the bloody well called the over 40s,
Hmm.
Ron Baliki and all the judges, all the referees, off came the shirts, and now they were in, and it's me on the name of Jesus, right? So it was like that scene. Well, way earlier on I said I walked in like Kane out of Kung Fu.
Hmm.
Well, I walked out feeling like a beachfront donkey with a straw hat, with the teeth showing, eating a bloody carrot.
Right.
Now, however, though, excellent learning,
Yes.
excellent learning.
Yeah.
And that's basically when I realized, because this may sound a bit, you know what I mean? This could be a bit controversial considering some of your posts, but simplicity for me is a personal responsibility. It isn't necessarily something that can actually be taught as an art. Now I can explain that.
Go.
Now what happened was is because I went into that game and I practiced everything that I knew, when it came to the conflict, when I'm buzzing, when the fight or flight's going, the intellect part of the brain separates
Mm-hmm.
from other parts of the brain. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there. It wasn't there because what I didn't do is take the relevant technical aspects of the game to strategize it. I tried to do the whole thing. What I learned from that, it wasn't like going back to the Philippines and saying, oh, this stuff is rubbish. This stuff is no good. It was my responsibility for the failure.
Right.
So what I did was I didn't discard what I was taught. I just focused on what was applicable to what was necessary to learn that chess game.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yeah.
So
You you
so what
you
it's
you're
go ahead.
touching on, see, you're touching on what is probably one of the most applicable. Okay, you're touching on what I have termed the four tenets of Jeet Kune Do. But unfortunately, the four tenets of Jeet Kune Do, since it's not something that Bruce Lee said, since it's something that Dan Inosanto introduced, right? Everybody, there are people who want to diminish the importance of research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Because you're giving me a treatise on the psychological and mental um, uh, ramifications or parameters of Jeet Kune Do. I don't know if you know that's what you're doing, but that's what you're doing, and you're taking it way beyond mere physical technique and talking about how you use the philosophy to tap in to areas.
Yes.
You see where I'm going with this?
And that's
It's
through the
brilliant.
readings. That's through the readings. That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Now, let's say, for instance, in relation to simplicity,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I decided to create this omelette. It's like, let's call it a Spanish one, even though it's just onion and potatoes. But let's say there's peppers in there,
Mm-hmm.
there's ham in there, there's cheese, all these different things. Now I've cooked this omelette and I'm saying, right, Dwight, here you go. Here's a Spanish omelette. Enjoy. But you don't let and then that may be passed on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the onion, but they're still calling it a Spanish omelette.
Right.
So simplicity for me is the art in itself doesn't need to be sacrificed. Take ownership of what's simplicity for you. And so in other words, what is your body?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Have you long range? Do you have a low sense of gravity or is it a high one? What's your element of strength like? What's your speed like?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you more natural with? So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta understand you can't completely disregard your own natural capabilities and expression.
Right.
So of course
Yeah.
you need to add what's already there, but you have to discover what's there first. And that's what the tournaments did for me.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. I mean, it's the stressing of the importance of individualism within the art.
Yes.
You know, and but I'll tell you, that seems to be something that a lot of people cannot or will not accept, that the individual, even though, right, even though there is, everybody knows the famous saying, man, the creating individual is always more important than any
Yes,
established system. So any established system or style includes the system known as Jeet Kune Do. So the individual,
exactly.
right? But
Yes,
it's almost like they agree up to a point. When the point is treating what Bruce Lee said about freedom, right? They can't accept that. It's all about freedom up until the point where you got to deal with freedom from Bruce Lee as well.
yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, what was Bruce Lee matching it against at that time? Now, we're going back from maybe, what, 65, 67, up until maybe he passed away. What was around in them days? Now, it's understandable when you look at the classical external styles of Kung Fu, for
Yes.
instance,
Yes.
your Silum, your Logar, your Hungar, it is very much form based. Now, I do understand completely because this is what happens. When you're practicing an expression of movement, remember what the brain is actually interpreting, and that is safe room, safe place, relationship. There's no threat. As soon as you come under threat, your whole body mechanics completely change.
Right.
Now, what happens is, now this is what really impressed me by Bruce Lee's readings. You know the three stages of primitive, mechanical, and cultivation?
Yeah.
Now, you see that? That can be compared to a neuropsychology findings
Yes.
around the brain stem, which is
Yes.
the primitive brain, the
Yeah.
limbic system, which is emotion, and the cerebral cortex,
Right.
which
I
is our
remember when you posted about that. Yes.
That's it. So
Yes.
what happens is when you start, your rates start to go up, our bodies naturally prepare ourselves through the fight or flight system. That brings with it anxiousness and elements of fear.
Right.
Right now, fear is a necessity because it's part of us. Now, if we didn't have fear, then a mouse with no fear would feel safe trying to nest in a cat's ear. What's
Yeah.
going to happen to the mouse when it nests in a cat's ear? It's going to get killed. How does the mouse know? It doesn't have any warning. It has no emotional content to warn itself what you're doing is dangerous. The problem is, as that pressure goes, your learning detaches itself from the other two parts of the brain, which means if you're saying to me what I do is to fight or to defend, that's a high order. And I don't mean this putting people in a spot, but I would love to know if that is the case. I would love to hear about your evidence. How were you able to acknowledge that your right foot was in front? How you were able to have your hand up or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Because what Bruce Lee give us to everyone really, either they're practitioners of the art or not, he gave us a clear vessel, right? A clear journey. The philosophies and the JKD method was a journey. Unfortunately, some people have climbed up the signpost instead of following the journey, because the journey leads to freedom because it's your own self-discovery. But you get this feeling that people are clinging to the signpost because he was the one that planted it there.
Yes.
But that's not its purpose.
I
It's a
think
guide.
I think that is the best analysis and explanation of this phenomenon that I have heard in a really long time. Aidan.
Oh, thank you.
And I am glad I'm the one who brought you to the world. No, that's brilliant. I love that, because again, see, but now here's the thing, see, Bruce Lee was all about the actual experiencing of things. Now, you cannot talk the way that you talk just from what we would call in the old days book learning. You had to have gone through it to come out the other end with the understanding. That's all he was asking. He was saying, like you just alluded to, Bruce Lee, in his time frame, it was all classical stuff, the classical kung fu, the classical karate, and what have you. And he was saying, no, we got to be more realistic. Well, you did that. You took that thing that he was teaching, you took it and experienced it, and now you're on the other end. And it makes, okay, so tell me if I'm right. It makes you a better person, and it makes you a better teacher, and better able to pass on to others.
Which eventually is part of the
Mhm.
dream. Because in a sense, my practice of what I do isn't necessarily to become a better fighter. Unfortunately for me, the chicken came before the egg. I grew up in an environment where you just had to fight.
To fight, yeah.
It was a question of survival. Now, I don't want that to sound arrogant. It was just the way that it was.
Yeah, yeah.
However, my greatest fight was with myself. And when I, for instance, stopped doing the running, with the drinking and what have you, my biggest challenge was to face the person head on who made me drink in the first place, and that was me.
Yeah.
So through the readings, for instance, I was able to make identification. And one of my favorite ones is, and this is when things started to change, the art of dying. You know, from Longstreet.
Mhm.
Man, to this day, that just blows me away. See, when I read that, I'm out the door with wheels on my feet. I'm just gliding down the road. And, and that was instrumental
Yeah.
in my mindset for actual further tournaments.
Right.
Now, in saying that, though, I had help because my natural makeup is I'm a caveman. I'll just rush in, steam myself in. Now, this meant that after the experience of the first cold steel, me and Richard reevaluated everything and changed things. Now it was hard, but eventually we managed to do it, and then eventually things started to improve. And I think it was in 2015 there was a worldwide historical European martial arts championship that was held in Hanover in Germany. And I contacted them and explained, listen, my background is like bladed weapons, but it's Filipino. Now, in a very nice way, he said, we would love to have you, but I think you need some lessons. And really don't set your, what do you call it, sights too high. There's no way you're going to win fighter of the day. Now, what I chose was a weapon called a Dusak. Now, a Dusak is, I think it's from, it's a Czechoslovakia type weapon.
Okay.
It's quite wide, but these ones weigh a ton, and they were actually, whatever was in them, they were sewn together by hard leather, and that was the weapon. And I'd never seen one before in my life, and yet I actually won that world title, and they also awarded me fighter of the tournament. Now only because I changed my mindset,
Right.
right? I learned to cultivate. I think that is a fantastic. That guy, Bruce Lee, honest to
Yeah.
God, he was way, way ahead of his time in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
It,
For
it, it,
someone
is your
so
book is your
young,
is your book gonna be about how Bruce Lee is
yes,
instructive for non-martial artists?
it's about overcoming your mental
Okay.
adversities.
Okay.
And I'm including the Bruce Lee factor of
Right.
where I got my encouragement
Yeah.
and to learn to find my own path, right?
Right.
Because the thing is, you see, is again, the most important thing for me in martial arts is self-development, that I can go to bed at night and close
Yeah.
my eyes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, you know who's a kind of major figure with me at the moment? Ron Baliki.
That guy?
Ron Baliki, to me, you see, is he is it's almost a symbol
Hmm.
as to where I've now arrived.
Yeah. Can you
Right?
see what I just put up there?
I can't see it now.
No, no. It's well, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you afterwards. But
Yeah, that'd be great.
it's Troy Miller,
Troy.
right? Scott Dixon, right? Who else is in there that you'll know? Victor Young.
Victor's you see his session with you last week.
Yeah,
To me, Victor is what it's all about.
yeah, right. And Ron Balicki.
Wow.
Okay, I'll send it to you
Yeah.
afterwards
Oh, that.
since you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got it today from Scott actually. So
Yeah. That'd be good to see.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. So,
Now,
so go ahead, go ahead.
no, what I was going to say, like, no, ask a question. And I'll get back to it.
Yeah, well, okay. So let's go back to Bruce Lee on the day that he theorizes. I should call what I do the way of the stopping fist, because that to me is the highest level of countering. Okay, so that's the day. Do you think he thought, okay, I got it all worked out and this is a complete system?
No, I think what he created a green banana, and when he left us, it hadn't ripe yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right, so the fruit was there, but it
Yeah.
was still in its growth. Now, if you even look back over the past 50 years, not only have arts evolved, but violence has evolved.
Yes.
So, in a sense, for instance, is if you're saying that what you're doing is to improve your chances of survival or winning,
Hmm.
then my advice to you is you got to keep up with the times of what's out there.
Yeah.
Now, that leads me to knife defense. If I had my way, I would have knife defense regulated where it's properly passed before it can actually be taught due to some of the stuff that's taught out there.
Right.
Now, my last job was I was the training manager for all the frontline security at Westfield shopping malls in London.
Okay.
And I had to watch countless footage of different types of attacks and what have you. Do you know, Dwight, it only takes 3 centimeters for a blade to penetrate your lung, 4 centimeters to penetrate the heart, but the average stab wound is 8 to 9 centimeters. So what that says is it's close range,
Right.
and all the majority of the killings are done by a single stab wound. So they're not kind of slashes,
Right.
because that the range would be different from that.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that's the edge weapon workshops that I've done in work is understanding distance,
Yeah.
measure,
Yeah.
timing,
Yeah.
escape, and peripheral vision.
Right. 30, maybe almost 40 years ago, surviving edge weapons, that video was like the landmark
Yeah.
presentation of the reality of edge weapon survival. And so it's really ridiculous, I think, sometimes for people who say, well, I'm a Jeet Kune Do guy, so I'm about reality, but I don't do weapons.
Well, here's a reality, Dwight. As you know, he carried a knife himself, didn't he?
Yeah,
Didn't he have that belt?
he had the
And
belt. Yeah,
he had the belt and he had
yeah,
the blade concealed in there. So
yeah.
what does that take?
But I was one of my students told me that too many of my Wednesday podcasts had not been uploaded to the playlist in the YouTube. So I spent part of the weekend doing that, and I came across something that I had written, which pretty much said, if you were not there with Bruce Lee when he said what he said, and you weren't able to ask him to explain exactly what he meant, then you should pretty much shut up and not try to be an authority on it.
Yes, that's what makes it unique from those who actually learned from him.
Mm-hmm.
Jeet Kune Do does. If I go out and learn Wing Chun, fencing, and whatever, I
Mm-hmm.
can't call it Jeet Kune Do. I mean, that's I might as well sit on top of the TV and look at the couch. You know, you're doing Wing Chun and fencing.
Mm-hmm.
Jeet Kune Do was Bruce's personal evolvement within himself. He found his own sense of freedom. And what's interesting is because my martial art seniors, they're my mentors,
Yeah.
they're my instructors, but my teachers are the ones that I've fought against. And I'm talking both out in the street and even on the tournament circuit.
Yes.
Now, I'll give you an example. Um, a while ago, I've just got back into it. I used to actually practice a style called Wudang Tai Chi. Now, I didn't start to do Tai Chi for as a martial art. I wanted to do it to help because it was a wee bit tense and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do boxing, and I thought this Tai Chi flowy art would be great. Now, I was expecting to see a teacher that resembled something out of a Shaw's Brothers movie. You know, the big long white eyebrows and all, and the big beard. But instead, I got a 6'2" bulch of a guy from Glasgow.
uh,
Now, he actually studied Tai Chi in Hong Kong because he was a former police instructor. Now, that's where it all came from. We would we would do repetition and pressure test a lot of the techniques. Now, I never really thought about it because Tai Chi was not an art that I chose as a way of, but believe me, it's there.
mm-hmm.
Few years ago, I'm in Belfast and I let my guard down. And what it was, I was with my two brothers and a few others, and some guy came in, and this guy, he had that look. This was the sort of guy that probably dresses up his mother and would stab people in the shower. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Uh-huh.
And he had a bit of an issue with the guy that kind of latched on to us, even though that we knew him. So them two had a wee bit of a banter, but the guy that was with us, he was a bit afraid. So he clung on to us. So we're outside, for instance. A couple of people. My wife was basically having a vape, and this guy come right up beside us, the one that was clinging to us. The Norman Bates character went straight over and was ready to go for him. I caught in between them. Mistake number one. I turned my back to him to get Simon out of the way and says, listen, go you in out of the road. See, soon as I turned round, he hit me with a cracker, right? He hit with a belter right in the nose. Now, my instinct was that there's this kind of, what do you call it? Let me see if I can hold this. It's almost like white crane flaps its wings, you call it. Because when he came in for the follow up, now, you know what saved me from going down? Having my weight on the back left leg, because I was able to withstand the blow because of the balance aspect. I wasn't square on.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went in, it was an interception and threw him right down. I didn't even think about it, or it just bang. It was just there. And let's say, even though I was running about like a raccoon for a couple of weeks with the black eyes,
Yeah.
I come out better off.
Yeah.
So now I was quite surprised at that. Now, that head case was my teacher, right? He was my teacher. I was able to basically go away and think that whole process,
Oh,
and
that's
out of it,
fantastic. Yeah.
design the situational awareness course, understanding body language of aggression,
Right.
behaviors,
Right.
and also putting myself in a position that's comfortable so I can react. You've no time to think about the left leg forward or the right leg forward or having your hand this way.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what that is. Bruce Lee gave us a vessel that was pure. But when people started to fill it up with statements like, that's not a JKD elbow, it's a Salat elbow, or it's not this kick, it's that kick, it's almost like a cholesterol plaque that's building up on the vessel.
Mm-hmm.
So that has an effect on the circulation, which will cause you to die instead of being free. Does that make sense?
I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I'm gonna edit out these clips and do a series of Aiodhan Cochrane sayings because I love how you describe them. These should be in the these are going to be in the book, right?
Yes,
They
yeah.
better be. They better
Yeah.
be. Because yeah, with your explanations, man, I thought I was good. You make me look like a first former. Jesus, right?
Now you're cool. You're one.
um, no, the one I have it here. The one you said, Bruce Lee never ceases to amaze me due to the studying that he must have done. Um, you think people can really get Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do without doing the same amount of study?
I think that there are certain aspects that could be missing
Mm-hmm.
that spells a different word. He emphasized a lot on, for instance, in order to back up his own physical expression, he brought his fitness level to a par so that can be executed with precision.
Mm-hmm.
So how he threw his kick, how he threw his punch, or whatever, obviously was also based on. So, in other words, it's like a star needs a dark sky before it can shine. For you to express your art at that level, then you must have the spiritual ability to cultivate what you're learning to
Right.
make it, but it's also having the physical abilities they execute it in the way that it was originally taught.
Right. So, okay. So we need the physical. We
Yeah.
obviously need the mental. Uh, the spiritual is there. Tell me about the emotional development, or even and as part of the emotional development, the emotional control.
Yes. Now, my first experience with Troy, that was primitive emotion that I wasn't in control over.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he was brilliant. You know what I mean? Troy is the one thing that I'll say about them guys. I'll just kind of just quickly divert. People like Troy, Don McGuire, Randy. You had Randy on
Yes.
from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
See all them guys now. To me, because I've seen what they do,
Yeah.
they're second to none. Now, I actually attended more so of as and I participated when they did the FMA stuff. They did, for instance, various different things every day. Silat, they did all these. JKD was never mentioned
Right.
until the day they practiced JKD. So it's not the way some people think,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like an oxo cube that you take out of the cupboard. Oh, I'm cooking chicken today. Sprinkle the oxo. Or I'm cooking fish today, or maybe a steak. Sprinkle the oxo.
Yeah.
Which is, it almost becomes like a stock, which is not. It's not basically like that again. Now I've went too far here. What was your original question?
No.
I'm starting.
No. No.
I'm
No. No.
starting.
No. No. No.
Starting to feel it.
No.
Yeah.
I. This is brilliant, right? Because what I love about it is because like you said earlier, Bruce Lee was a physical specimen, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost as if, okay, well, if we're going to be in JKD, then we have to try to be as much of the physical specimen as we can be. But so many of us are not starting out. We've been in it for a while, and we've been on the planet for a while, so we're not the 20 something year old, 32-year-old specimen that he
Yeah.
was, right? But I still think he can be an example for that, in that you try to stay as fit as you can. But what I love about what you've done is how, not that you de-emphasize the physical, but you just show how the other aspects, let's call it, for lack of a better expression, the philosophical aspects of Jeet Kune Do are of paramount importance. Of paramount
Without a doubt.
importance, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really, because there are some out there who go, oh, we're not really into all that philosophy, Jeet Kune Do. We're into the practical aspects of it, or the physical aspects of it, or whatever. Well, then you're not balanced, are you?
No, you've got a star with no sky to make it
Right,
shine.
right,
You see,
yeah.
now in a sense that the issue with the emotional brain that you asked earlier on.
Mm-hmm,
Now,
mm-hmm.
in a sense, it could be like, for instance, when you first take, because you would need to actually be a fighter every day in the street before it eventually becomes like a second nature, which
Right.
is something any civil person just doesn't want to do. That's just madness. So let's just kind of say it can happen once in a lifetime. Some people, fortunate for them, have never been in that situation. When the brain is faced with an unknown dilemma,
Mm-hmm.
that's when anxiety sets in. Anxiety is an emotional response to the unknown. That was something that we don't know the outcome of.
Right.
Right? Now, in a sense, stress, it can be similar, but stress is an emotional adaptation to something. So if you find yourself overworked, your mind and body is adapting to the hours. That's what stress is. So when the body, for instance, feels that it's under threat, the serotonins of the brain, for instance, are released, and also parts of the brain like the amygdala, the hippocampus, that plays a role on setting that blue light. And what happens is, because each brain compartment is attached by neurotransmitters, axons, and dendrites. And what happens, that's how you're able to lift the book, brain stem, read the book,
Yeah.
cerebral cortex, and laugh at the book, the limbic system. The learning detaches itself, and that's when we lose control and go into primitive mode. We just react, and it ends up a mess.
Hmm.
So, how do we? It can be done. You know, that's a perfect example. Learning to drive.
Right.
When you go in your first driving lesson, right, you're anxious.
Hmm.
You're looking at all these pedals, steering wheels, and buttons and whatever,
Yeah.
and you're all over the place.
Yeah.
That's the primitive stage.
Yeah.
And then you start to become mechanical. However, when the instructor's taking you through the instructions, you need to break it down first before you react. What's that? Is it that pedal? Boom. Yep, got that right.
Hmm.
So there's a pause. But then what happens? You're able to drive, have a conversation, turn the music on, smoke a vape, wave to your mate out the window, all
Hmm.
at the same.
And use your leg to steer.
You're using everything. You see, and you're doing it without thinking. It's
Right.
just there.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, I feel that that's when Bruce Lee started off saying, when I first started off, a punch was a punch, a kick and a kick.
Yeah.
And then when it came round,
Yeah.
it ended up the same where it started, because there's no thought,
Yeah.
there's just instant. It's there when you react.
Right.
And
Okay.
that, for me, that is through a cultivating process, through repetition, pressure testing, and various other things.
Right. All right. Okay. So listen, I just had an idea. So not next Friday, not this coming Friday, but next Friday, Troy Miller is supposed to be on with me.
Oh, he's
Okay.
brilliant.
Right.
Love Troy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe not exactly the Friday after him. So maybe in about 3 or 4 Fridays from now, would you come back and let me just spout Bruce Lee quotes to you, and you give me your analysis of them?
Perfect. That'd be great.
Yeah.
You've given me some homework. Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Because see, it didn't make it. It didn't make it out of my notebook, but I actually had some stuff that I had written down for you, and it was based partially on that. It said interpret this, right, and then I was just going to read you something and have you give me your interpretation. So I think, what if we do a whole episode on that?
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Now, would you want me to send you it beforehand, or could we just do it live on the spot? However you prefer to do it.
Either way.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah. See, this is the Jeet Kune Do, man, right? You see, all the arguing, they're so stupid with their arguments. It's such.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
But
Centipedes that are upside down. And you go. Have you heard of this analogy before?
I've heard of
So
something similar. Yes.
yeah, you go over, why are you lying on your back for? And the centipede says, really annoyed, I was doing all right until somebody asked me which leg goes first, the right or left.
Wait, give me a second. I just froze again. Where am I? Okay, cool. Yeah, no. That's perfect. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm starting to fade too. So let's put a wrap on this.
No bother.
But we're coming back in a few weeks, and man, this has been great. I really enjoyed talking to you and
Thank you.
being able to pick your brain on this stuff. But we won't let Ron Balicki and Troy Miller know that we even mentioned their names on this, okay?
Absolutely not. Otherwise, their heads would be like two air balloons.
Yeah. Now I had the greatest time with those two guys recently. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. All right, Aidan, my friend, thank you so much for spending some time with me, man.
It's been wonderful to spend time with you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay. All right. You take care now.
Cheers, Dwight. All the best. Look after
you. All right, man. Okay.
See you now. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right. What a wonderful guy, huh? That was that was more than awesome, man. Right? Okay. All right. So that's it. So today's Monday. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. We'll do another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast, and then on Friday, 4 p.m. also. So it'll be a little bit earlier here on the East Coast. We'll be with Sully Welch of the Welch Experience in where the heck in Georgia is he? Now I forget. All right, I'll have that straight by Friday. Okay, so you guys, any questions that you have for me or for Aidan, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll ask him to take a look at it and respond if necessary. Right? So that's it. Until the next time. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you on Wednesday and or on Friday. All right, take care.